You are lying in bed wearing headphones. A stranger online whispers, brushes the camera, pretends to examine your forehead.
And somehow your scalp just reacts, like
Yeah.
tiny invisible fingers are running across it.
Exactly. Your logical brain knows nobody is there, but apparently your nervous system just totally missed the memo.
It is, I mean, it's a profound glitch in the matrix of human perception. You're perfectly safe, you're entirely alone, staring at a piece of glowing glass.
Yeah, but your body is experiencing this visceral physical sensation of being cared for. So today we are taking a deep dive into a phenomenon that, well, it used to be dismissed as just a quirky internet subculture.
Right, ASMR.
Yeah, autonomous sensory meridian response. We've gathered a stack of recent peer-reviewed papers spanning, neurobiology, multisensory integration, psychology, all to figure out how a digital whisper can create a physical tingle.
Our core mission is really to investigate the central question. How can a fake haircut or a hand moving toward a camera create a tactile sensation when nobody is actually touching you?
And to do that, we are looking at research on visual perspective, human touch sensitivity, and the actual triggers. Because the emerging science suggests we should be looking at ASMR not just as a genre of relaxing videos, right?
Yeah, it's much more like a simulated biological event.
Which brings us to the thesis we are exploring today. ASMR acts as a highly evolved form of virtual touch. It is essentially a digital hack of our oldest sensory systems. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the best place to start understanding virtual touch is actually, ironically, in the physical world. There's a fascinating recent study that completely reframes how we look at this.
Oh, right, the one where they developed the ASMR trigger checklist, the ACC.
Exactly. Their goal was to map out what actually sets off this tingling sensation across a wide population. They tested 37 different triggers across 4 categories, visual, vocal, non-vocal audio, and tactile.
Which is interesting because if you just browse the internet, you'd assume the auditory triggers are the main event.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's millions of videos of people tapping on glass, crinkling plastic, or, whispering into binaural microphones. You naturally conclude that ASMR is fundamentally an audio-visual experience.
And that was the prevailing assumption for a really long time. I mean, over 90% of the people in the study did endorse things like soft speaking, whispering, delicate hand movements. But the data revealed a massive outlier.
Right, the touch trigger.
Yes. The single most endorsed trigger sitting at an astonishing 98% of respondents was actual physical touch to the body.
Which is wild. And not only was it the most common, but participants rated physical touch as the most intense trigger by a significant margin.
Yeah, we are talking about real-world interactions. Having
Yeah.
your hair played with, someone tracing letters on your back.
Like the school nurse checking your scalp when you were a kid.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What's fascinating here is how this dominant touch trigger proves that digital ASMR is actually just trying to simulate real-world physical intimacy and tactile sensations.
So, historically, ASMR was always a physical interpersonal experience.
Right. These audiovisual internet videos are essentially reverse engineering those real-world tactile moments using screens and speakers.
It's like saying eating a meal is just about the smell.
Yeah.
I mean, the sounds and sights in these videos, they're the appetizer. But the tactile sensation, that feeling of being groomed or cared for, that is the main course.
Yeah, the internet is just trying to give you the appetizer so vividly that your brain, well, it basically hallucinates the main course.
Which is such a crazy concept.
Yeah.
But that hallucination requires us to look at the biological hardware that makes it possible, right?
Absolutely. Another recent study investigated a specific physiological pathway known as affective touch.
Affective touch. So that's not just like the mechanical touch of bumping your elbow or holding a coffee mug.
No, not at all. Affective touch is gentle touch with emotional meaning. It's a hug, a comforting hand on the shoulder, or someone stroking your hair. It signals safety, affiliation, and care.
And what's crazy is that we don't even have the receptors for this everywhere on our bodies.
Right. Biologically, affective touch relies on a highly specific set of nerve fibers called C-tactile afferents.
C-tactile afferents.
Yeah, and you can't really trigger this by stroking the glabrous skin on, say, the palms of someone's hands or the soles of their feet. These fibers are primarily located in hairy skin.
So like your forearms, your back, your scalp.
Exactly. And they don't care about the fine details or the temperature of what is touching you. They solely care about the emotional quality of the interaction.
That is wild.
There is actually a literal mathematical sweet spot for these nerves, too. Researchers highlight that C-tactile afferents respond most robustly to a slow stroking velocity of exactly 3 to 9 centimeters per second.
3 to 9 centimeters per second. That is so specific.
It is. That specific speed maximizes the neurological feeling of pleasantness, it lowers heart rates, it releases oxytocin.
And the crucial link to our deep dive today is that people who are highly sensitive to this exact type of physical affective touch on their forearms experience much stronger ASMR tingles when watching videos.
Yes, the correlation is undeniable.
You know, evolution spent millions of years building a nervous system that responds to gentle grooming. Then the internet arrived with a microphone and a makeup brush.
It's so true, though. It is a brilliant modern adaptation of an ancient survival behavior. Among humans and other primates, social grooming is, well, it's a cornerstone of society.
Right, it isn't just about hygiene.
Not at all. It facilitates bonding and communicates safety within the group. The social grooming hypothesis suggests that ASMR videos reproduce the active ingredients of these ancient social experiences.
So the creator brushing the microphone slowly is subconsciously matching that 3 to 9 centimeters per second velocity,
Exactly. They are hitting the evolutionary speed limit of comfort.
which also explains some of the stranger subgenres of ASMR.
Oh, like what?
Well, when I first saw people eating pickles or honeycomb super close to a microphone, I just thought it was an acoustic gimmick. But that same study found that eating those actually strongly predicted tingling intensity based on a person's touch sensitivity.
Yeah, the connection between chewing sounds and feeling physically touched seems entirely counterintuitive at first.
Completely. Until you factor in the evolutionary context.
Right. Think about the social and physical proximity required to hear someone chewing. In the natural world, you only hear those wet, detailed mouth sounds if someone is sitting mere inches away from you.
Sharing resources in a completely safe environment.
Exactly. The brain hears the crunch and translates it into social data. It implies extreme closeness.
Furthermore, eating sounds carry implicit expectations of mouth movements, texture, and physical presence. If you are highly sensitive to affective touch, your brain is primed to translate those hyper-close social cues into a physical, emotional response.
We have this deeply ingrained evolutionary hardware for social grooming and safety. But in the modern context, the creator eating the pickle or holding the makeup brush is thousands of kilometers away.
Right, they're not actually in your room.
No, the brain has to bridge a massive gap between a flat, two-dimensional screen and a localized physical tingle on the scalp.
To figure out how the sensory processing gets tricked into accepting a video as physical reality, we have to pull in another study, the one exploring multisensory integration and peripersonal space.
Yes, two massive concepts in neuroscience. Multisensory integration is the fundamental principle that the brain doesn't process sight, sound, and touch in isolated silos.
It constantly combines what you see, what you hear, what you expect, and what you feel into one unified narrative.
Right. A great analogy is how smelling smoke and hearing a crackle instantly creates the unified concept of fire. You don't process the smell and the sound separately. Your brain fuses them into a single, urgent reality.
That makes perfect sense. And the second concept is peripersonal space.
Yeah, your brain treats the space immediately around your physical body, roughly arm's length, as heavily protected territory. It dedicates specific neural networks just for monitoring this zone.
So a hand approaching your face matters immensely more to your nervous system than that same hand waving from across the room. Because if something enters your peripersonal space, you have a fraction of a second to decide if you need to fight it, run from it, or, let it groom you.
So researchers set up an experiment to test this boundary in the context of ASMR. They used a dummy head equipped with binaural microphones, which capture sound in 3D space, alongside a 360-degree camera.
Okay.
They had an actor perform classic ASMR actions like ear cleaning or hair cutting around the dummy. They then showed these videos to participants while manipulating two specific variables: visual perspective and audiovisual synchrony.
Right. So some participants saw the video from a third-person perspective, just watching the actor do this to the dummy head.
Yeah, like watching a regular movie. Others saw it from a first-person perspective where the camera was mounted right on the dummy, making it look like the actor was interacting directly with the viewer.
Okay, and for the second variable?
They took the audio and video and slightly desynchronized them for some trials, adding a subtle 2 to 5 second lag.
Oh, I hate when videos lag. But the results give us the blueprint for the ASMR illusion.
They really do. When participants watched the actions from a third-person perspective, the synchrony of the audio and video didn't significantly affect their ASMR intensity. It was just a video of someone else.
Right, the brain doesn't care.
But when they viewed the actions from a first-person perspective and the audio was perfectly synchronized with the visual movements, their ASMR intensity skyrocketed.
See, I want to push back on the traditional way we think about the brain here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people imagine the brain as a passive camera.
Mm.
Like it's just sitting there in a dark skull, watching the video on the monitor and saying, oh, nice video.
Mm.
But the brain is actually a predictive engine. It doesn't just record reality, it anticipates it.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the predictive engine model completely explains why ASMR feels unusually intimate. When you are in that first-person perspective and a makeup brush approaches the camera lens, the brain isn't passively watching a brush approach a piece of glass.
It has temporarily adopted that camera lens as your face.
Exactly. It sees the brush enter that sacred peripersonal space. It hears the bristles perfectly synced with the movement because binaural headphones map sound spatially.
Right, making a whisper sound like it is originating 2 centimeters from your left earlobe.
And so the predictive engine braces for impact. It anticipates the feeling of the brush on the skin.
The technology acts as a bypass directly into the nervous system. You have headphones placing a voice centimeters from your ear. You have synchronized close-up visual movements directed right at the camera lens.
So your brain's predictive engine rapidly deduces, someone is very close to me and they are gently doing something to me. The brain effectively hallucinates the tactile sensation because all the other multisensory alarms for intimate touch are going off simultaneously.
Which is the secret recipe for the entire ASMR roleplay genre. Fake haircuts, spa treatments, eye exams, personal attention videos, they all share the exact same ingredients.
Close attention, gentle movement, soft sounds, and a non-threatening stranger intentionally entering your peripersonal space in a calm way.
It's a brilliantly effective illusion of proximity. But, and this is a big caveat, it does not work on everyone. For a huge portion of the population, it fails completely.
Right. For some people, it's actively unpleasant.
Here's where it gets really interesting. If we all share this basic human hardware for predicting touch, and we all have C-tactile afferents designed for social grooming, why is ASMR so highly individual?
That is the big question.
Because the same synchronized whisper that sends one person into a wave of relaxing tingles will cause another person to aggressively rip their headphones off, completely creeped out by a stranger breathing into their ear.
It is the great divide in sensory science. To figure out why people react so differently, researchers hypothesized that it might relate to how tuned in we are to our own bodies. They tested a metric called interoceptive accuracy.
Interoception. That's your ability to feel internal bodily signals, right? Like knowing when you're hungry or feeling your stomach drop when you're nervous.
Exactly. The researchers measured this with having participants sit quietly and try to count their own heartbeats without checking their pulse. The logical assumption was that people who are highly aware of their internal bodily signals might be more prone to feeling the internal tingles of ASMR.
Which makes sense.
The hypothesis made perfect sense, but the data proved it entirely wrong.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Being good at feeling your own heartbeat did not correlate with feeling ASMR tingles at all. Interoceptive accuracy turned out to be a total dead end for explaining ASMR responsiveness.
So if it isn't general internal body awareness, what actually dictates who feels the tingles and who just feels annoyed?
This study points back to the specific sensory integration we discussed earlier. It isn't about feeling your heart, it's about how your unique brain processes effective touch from the outside world.
So the people who get tingles are inherently highly sensitive to the emotional and physical nuances of gentle social touch.
Precisely. If you are someone who melts when a partner plays with your hair, your brain is primed to translate a hair-brushing video into a pleasant tingle.
But if you are someone who finds light touch annoying, ticklish, or invasive, your predictive engine isn't going to reward you for simulating it.
Exactly. It relies heavily on touch preferences, past experiences, and individual differences in neurological wiring. We also know from broader psychological profiling that ASMR responders tend to score higher on traits like openness to experience and demonstrate higher general sensory sensitivity.
So their brains are fundamentally tuned to process these specific multisensory inputs as deeply rewarding rather than threatening.
Yeah, it's a very specific lock and key mechanism, heavily dependent on your personal sensory history.
That makes a lot of sense.
This raises an important question, though, which requires us to inject some healthy scientific skepticism into the conversation.
Yes, we definitely need to ground this. ASMR research is still incredibly young. The first peer-reviewed paper on the phenomenon only came out, what, about a decade ago?
Right. And many of the foundational studies we are discussing today rely on relatively small sample sizes. While the virtual touch and social grooming hypotheses are incredibly compelling and align perfectly with behavioral data, scientists have not discovered one definitive glowing ASMR brain circuit in an fMRI machine.
Right, we're discussing an emerging scientific explanation, not a completely settled textbook conclusion.
Exactly. And importantly, while millions of people use ASMR to relax or fall asleep, it should not be claimed as a recognized medical treatment. It's a fascinating neurobiological phenomenon with obvious therapeutic potential, but it is not a clinical prescription.
We're looking at the frontier of sensory science. We are mapping how the brain interprets safety and connection, but there is still a vast amount we don't fully understand about the mechanics of the response.
Couldn't agree more.
So what does this all mean? If we zoom out from the makeup brushes, the C-tactile afferents, and the dummy heads, what is the journey we've just been on?
Well, the journey reveals that ASMR is far more than a quirky internet trend. It is literally a digital hack of our ancient social grooming systems. By combining soft, close-up sounds with visual movements directly in our parapersonal space, these creators are perfectly mimicking the cadence of effective touch.
Right. And for those with the right sensory sensitivity, the brain's predictive engine takes those sights and sounds and seamlessly translates them into a physical, emotional reality.
Exactly.
The core takeaway here is beautifully simple, yet profound. The brain may not always need real touch to create something that feels remarkably close to being touched.
Our perception of reality and our physiological feeling of connection is highly constructed.
And that leaves me with a thought I really want you, the listener, to ponder today. Right now, we are achieving this feeling of virtual touch with flat, two-dimensional screens and basic stereo headphones. It's relatively primitive technology.
Yeah, it really is.
But what happens in 5, 10, or 20 years? What happens when highly immersive virtual and augmented reality perfectly map our peripersonal space? When the spatial audio is flawless and a visual avatar looks entirely real as it reaches out towards you? Will digital intimacy one day feel completely indistinguishable from a real human touch?
It's a thrilling and somewhat daunting frontier for human interaction.
It really is. And if a machine can perfectly hack our nervous system to make us feel cared for, what will that mean for how we actually connect with each other in the physical world? So tonight, when you are lying in bed wearing headphones and a stranger online whispers and brushes the camera, just remember, there really are no invisible fingers on your scalp. It's just millions of years of evolution sitting in the dark doing exactly what it was designed to do.